Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Whitehouse and I'm the artist behind Whitehouse Art. For today's tutorial, I want to walk you guys through how to paint this dandelion using watercolors. For a full list of everything you need to get started, be sure to check out the video description below and hit the thumbs up button if you have fun painting along with me, and be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see other videos just like this one. Let's get started. All right, so time to get started with sketching it out. So I like to do just a very loose outline before I get started, just to make sure that the proportions are correct. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially with a piece like this. You just want to kind of get an idea of how big it's going to be. So I'm going to do a circle in the middle, and then because I kind of want it blowing off to the side, I'm going to do the stem coming down towards the bottom corner of the page, kind of twisting. And actually, now that I see it, I think I might make it even a tiny bit bigger. And this just allows me to know what size I'm going to be working with. You don't have to outline it. If you're confident, just go ahead and get right into the water. All right, so for colors, it's totally up to you. I like to do colors that are complementary to each other. So for mine, I'm going to do a mix of blues, teals, and purples. I'm going to be using my dagger brush and the wet and wet technique, where I lay down water first. I get asked a lot about my watercolor tray. It is just an ice cube tray that I put the tubes in, and I just keep re-wetting it every time I use it with a spray bottle. So just a little tip for you. You don't have to spend a lot. You can go to your local dollar store and pick up an ice cube tray. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna go around and add some water for the first layer. For this layer, I'm not wanting to be too fussy because we're gonna go over it another time. I wanna leave some white spots. This is just about getting some color down. So I'm going to start with some nice Prussian blue in the center, and I allow it to just spread. So you want enough water on the paper that it spreads, but not so much water that it pools. And that's something that you have to just get familiar with as you work more and more with watercolors. I get asked a lot about how much water to lay on the page, but as you get familiar, you'll learn what sort of feels right. What consistency allows it to spread. That's all practice. So I'm gonna do a little bit of purple because I find I really like the way purple and blue look together. And then maybe a little bit of pink over here. I'm feeling it out as I go. And I love the way the lime green looks when it mixes with the teal. So I'm gonna throw that in right here. And because I can see there's a natural break, I know that the green will only spread if I add it here, so I'm going in and adding it. And blending it a little bit more here with this teal. So that's about what I want for the first coat on the dandelion itself, but now I want to add a little bit of watercolor around, loosen it up a bit. I'm just getting rid of where the green's mixing because I don't like it to mix too much with purple. I don't want to muddy the colors. So now what we're going to do is add some little blobs of water around that just briefly touch into the dandelion. And this is with loose watercolor. This is important to get confident, just laying down water and letting it do whatever it wants. Because the first layer is just about creating more of a background to the second layer. You see, I don't have a lot of rhyme or reason. I'm just dabbing the brush around, and as it dries, it'll lighten up. So now we're gonna take, I have a flat brush right here. I'm gonna use this to do some splatters to add more color to the background. Just like so. Have fun with it. This is such a fun part, adding these splatters. The ones that hit water are gonna kind of go crazy and bleed out, and then the ones that don't hit water will be more concentrated little dots. So they're both fun to see. I like to have variety. You don't wanna go so overboard that the attention's drawn away from the dandelion itself, because you want the majority of the color to be on the dandelion. So this background, while we do wanna have fun with it, you've also got to use a bit of moderation, and you'll figure out what that means for yourself. And if you do too many, you can always take a paper towel and dab some up. I like to do it when I have too many pools of water. I like to do it just because it takes so long for some of these pools of water to dry, and not all of us have 4 hours to wait for a painting to dry. So it helps to dab up the large pools of water where you can kind of see a doming effect. So I'm gonna do the stem too. For the stem, we'll just come down. And we'll do a few splatters outside of the stem with clear water. And the reason I'm doing that, I'll show you in a sec, is that now when we go over with our blue, I'm gonna use Prussian blue for the stem. Once we go over it, it'll bleed in certain areas. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of purple. Like so, until I'm happy with it. Now while this is drying, I see it's still a little bit wet here. I'm actually gonna add a little bit more dark color. And we're gonna do this more on the second coat. I just noticed that it was still wet, so I just wanted to add a little bit more to the center. So we'll let this dry up, and then we'll go ahead and add some more. All right, so we're ready to do the second coat, and for the second coat, I'm gonna focus more on the dandelion itself so that we can have it stand out a little bit more. So I'm gonna use my dagger brush again, and what I'm gonna do is go over the first coat that I did, being careful to leave some spots showing once again. And in this time, I want even more spots showing through so that we're focused more on creating the shape of the sun, the sun-like shape where the lines kind of come out from the center. And then we're gonna go over with a lot of the same colors. They're just gonna be darker now. So we're gonna start with the Prussian blue in the center and have it sort of radiate outwards, like so. I've been seeing so many of you guys posting my tutorials or about my tutorials on your Instagram. I really appreciate it, you guys. I love seeing your work. I love seeing your finished pieces, so keep tagging me. I really appreciate it. It also helps other people find my channel and get to experience watercolors themselves, so that's always a good thing. So we're gonna do some pink here. Now we're gonna take some teal and go over here, add the teal here. And you'll notice there are pencil lines showing. We're gonna get rid of those, not to worry. So we're gonna come out. When I'm noticing wherever there's water pooling, I like to kind of create a line there with the tip of my brush. And I will kind of go over that again with the black when I'm adding in the final details. And I just want to find center, which is about here, and just add quite a bit of Prussian blue to make sure it's nice and dark. And now we're going to take my flat brush again and add a few more splatters, because that's part of the fun of this painting, is we're keeping it nice and loose. Some lighter ones. Some over here where it's not quite as loose. And then maybe some over here. And when you do it in the form of clear water splatters mixed with paint splatters, what happens is some of them just bleed more than others, and that's what you want, is a lot of variety. You don't want all your splatters and all your different shapes to end up the same. It just won't have that nice organic feel. I'm gonna do the center a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do is do a few of the little seeds. So because I want them kind of going off over here, I'm gonna start with just adding Oops, that's a little bit darker than I'd like. Just adding a little bit of blue. Maybe a pink one. This one went a little funny, so I might lighten this part. I want them to be fairly light because they're just kind of drifting off into the wind. Do one here, and maybe one here. Then I'm going to take some blue and just go over the stem again. So I'm letting the brush, I let my hand get super shaky and I let the brush kind of bounce off the page because we don't want this stem to be too perfect. And then I'm going to take clear water and I'm going to go over certain parts where I don't like how perfect it's turning. I do that a lot. I'll massage some little lines to blend it a little bit. All right, I'm just going to lighten up a couple of parts of this where it's getting a little darker. I like to have a lot of variation, so I do that with a dry brush. I'll come in and just dab up some color in a certain part. But I'm pretty happy with how that's looking so far. So we're gonna let this layer dry, and then when I come back, I'll show you how to do the final details. All right, so most of it is dry, and it's certainly dry enough to start adding the black. So I'm gonna use a really fine liner brush to do this part, just to give myself quite a bit of control. And then we can go over and loosen it up with a bit of splatters over top after, so that it's not too perfect. So we'll start by doing a little bit of a blob in the middle. Technical term, a blob. And just kind of spot your brush onto it so that it's not a perfect circle. And then what we're going to do is go off with some lines and just make your way around. And you can go over certain ones that you like or didn't like, make certain parts stronger. But just twist your page around. That is why I like working with a watercolor block, just because it gives me that freedom. If I tape down my paper, I have less freedom to move it around. And just be mindful if you do still have any wet splatters that this is a way to kind of mush them, and you don't want to do that. All right. And then some of these, what I'm going to do is the ones that reach the end, I'm just going to add a little seed. And I'll just pick and choose which ones. You don't want it to be too symmetrical, so choose certain ones. Ooh, that one got really big. Choose certain ones. Make some closer together. Some lighter. And then we're going to add in a little bit of detail on these ones that are blowing away. See, I talked about putting your hand in the painting, and of course I just did it, but it's okay because I could feel it right away. So if you do feel any wet on your hand, that's a sign you're about to smush your painting, so beware. So we're just going to do little black dots at the base and have them floating away. And don't get too fussy about them. Let them be nice and loose. This whole painting, the common theme is keeping it nice and easy breezy. All right, so now what we're gonna do is go over one more time with a few splatters, and then I'll show you what I like to do with that. So I'm gonna take some blue, and then a little bit of black closer to it. So a few black splatters right at the center. Right here. Oops, that one went crazy. So you never know. Watercolor can be a little bit finicky, but that's okay. And I'm gonna loosen up a couple of these. For instance, this one I find just too strong, so I can pull out a bit of the color with a dry brush. And it's not, when I say a dry brush, I just mean that there's not pools of water in the brush, but it still has water on it. It's not completely dry. I just kind of take the brush, dry it off like that, and I pull up a little bit of the color. So I'm getting it really close to how I want it. I'm gonna go in and add a few more splatters along the outside, and these are gonna be nice big ones. And the way I get them to be bigger is I put just quite a bit of water on the brush. So I'm gonna add a few here. This is just trying to break up the edge a bit so it's not too round. I do this a lot at the end of a painting where I get it the way I want it, but it's a little too fussy. It's a little too exacting. So I go in and muddle it up a little bit. So now we can just dab up a bit of the water that's pooling there. And I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna show you the final touch that we do to this painting. All right, so last but not least, I'm gonna do a little bit of poster color. Whatever white paint you have around works well. Basically, you just, not white watercolor, just because it always dries very gray. Whereas acrylic paint or poster color, it dries fairly opaque. So I just want to add a few little white dots in the center, little highlights, just right here. And then I'm going to do a few moving out, just little highlights. I like the dimension that this adds. And this is another great time to practice that, like, letting your brush skip off the page, doing some funny little strokes with the brush, like that. Just trying to get some variety. We don't want this part to look too perfect. So I'm just kind of going in, I'm highlighting a few of the areas where the water is pooled. Add a little more here. It's almost at the point where I'm happy with it. All right, so I think that looks great. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign it, and it is all done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys had a blast and you're happy with your finished painting. Be sure to tag me in Instagram if you share your painting. My Instagram handle is @whitehouse_art. And be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see other videos just like this one. I have so many ideas coming up for the fall that I can't wait to share with you guys, but I'm always looking for new inspiration. So if you have an idea, be sure to leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching.